there, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be doing something special because this track that we're gonna be analyzing together tonight, it's actually a track that I discovered like 20 years ago when I was still just a kid through watching anime, and anime is not something that I happen to be a huge fan of.
NANI?
Hashtag not all, there are great animes, and me knowing this means that I have seen plenty, okay? Because this is not Dragon Ball Z. Now, the track in question is Duvet by the band Bois. And this track was used for the introduction of a serial experiment Lain. And I didn't know that it got popular back in 2024 out of TikTok. While doing my research, preparing for this particular analysis, I learned that particular fact. And to be frank, the song is fantastic. And if I recall correctly, the anime is also quite good. But it's been ages since the last time I watched it, so I might be wrong. And also the way that they use this track during the introduction for the anime is actually quite good, if I recall correctly, because it's very much in sync with the music. I will have the link to that particular introduction in the description as well. So with that being said, let's get into it. But before we go, if this is your first time in this channel, I welcome you because in here we analyze the music that we love from the perspective of an active musician and professional music producer, but using language that everybody can understand, in a way to expand our knowledge when it comes to music production, songwriting, and of course, music appreciation. So, with that being said, let's rock and roll. Here we go. So here we go, Duvet by Bois.
And you don't seem to understand. A shame you seemed an honest man. And all the fears you hold so dear will turn to whisper in your ear. And you know what they say might hurt you, and you know that it means so much, and you don't even feel a thing. I am falling, I am fading, I have lost it all, and you don't seem the lying kind. A shame that I can read your mind, and all the things that I read there. Candlelit smile that we both share. And you know I don't mean to hurt you, but you know that it means so much, and you don't even feel a thing. I am falling, I am fading, I am drowning. Help me to breathe. I am hurting, I have lost it all. I am losing. Help me to breathe.
Sorry for interrupting, but you know the drill. There's plenty to unpack. First and foremost, the rhythmic section is fantastic. The drummer and the bass player are killing it. Excellent musicians. Both of them are playing incredibly well. I love the beautiful interaction between the fantastic and groovy bass line with the super dynamic and kind of complex drumming. He's an excellent player. Please remind me the name of these guys because, wow, they're really good. Now, a little bit of trivia. As I said in the introduction, I actually listened to this track for the first time in the early 2000s when I actually watched a serial experiment Lain back in the day when it got released, well, at least when it came to this side of the world. And yeah, I didn't get it because I was just still a kid, but I remember it being kind of cerebral and kind of dense when it comes to the content or the concept explored in that particular anime. Now, this song, if I remember correctly, plays beautifully alongside the introduction, which is kind of your traditional anime affair. And I will have the link to that in the description of this video so you can watch it once this video is over if you have never seen this anime before. Now, coming back to the music, the voice is fantastic. She's just perfect. Her voice is beautiful, extremely melodic, feminine, and doing everything correctly. Such a beautiful texture to her voice, and also her technique is flawless. She's moving from one note to the other in such a fantastic fashion. Very musical and extremely controlled, I gotta tell you that. And it feels, and everything feels super effortless. She's doing it just naturally, and probably that's the reason why I find her voice to be that beautiful. Excellent. I happen to be a sucker for female singers, if that's not clear to you by this moment, but in her case, she's probably one of the best I have reviewed in this channel. Beautiful singing voice. Now, I wanted to draw your attention to several elements during this particular section of the track while we were listening, and one of them is the very clever use of the guitars. They are moving them around. Even though the guitar is not that prominent when it comes to the positioning and the importance of the instruments across the mix, the guitars are playing very important roles. Sometimes they're doing a little bit of this kind of acoustic, rhythmic element, similar to what you would do with a güiro, for as weird as that sounds like, because it's playing chords, and in the mix you can hear them mostly the attack, like thing. That's why I was referring to one of those Latin sounding instruments. But it's very good. And also the electric guitar, whenever it pops, it's beautiful. It's just playing certain notes that creates this tension and makes the whole thing more ambient-like. So good. So let's blast the rest of the track before we dive quite deep into the whole mixing analysis, part of this analysis. So let's keep rocking. Here we go. Short and sweet. What a fantastic track this is. Straight to the point, no filler, just great music all around. Now, you saw, as soon as I press play, we finally got, or everything that I was trying to say regarding the guitars made itself manifest. Very much taking all of our attention, playing a beautiful harmony between the two guitars that at least were part of the recording process, and creating this fantastic ambient-like, kind of eerie but yet comfortable soundscape that truly makes you wonder. I don't know, I am running out of words, but I don't know if that makes sense to you, but at least to me, that's the kind of stuff that comes to my head when I listen to this kind of style of music. Speaking of which, it's kind of a very weird mix between Oasis, Alanis Morissette, who else? The Cardigans. Well, all of those pop rock bands from the late 90s, early 2000s. And these being part of, well, I don't know if they were considered to be part of the British invasion, but it has that sound which was very common back in the day. When I was a kid, this kind of style of rock music was very popular. I don't know what happened. Well, there, many things happened. If you know what happened, well, or give us your opinion regarding what happened to music, because we truly went to a completely different place nowadays. But okay, it's time to analyze the mix, as I said before, so let's take a look at it. Welcome to Decibel. In front of us, we got the tool that we're gonna be using for analyzing the music that we just heard through the use of a visual medium. Over here we got the first section, which is the frequency range analyzer, which through the use of this particular white line is going to show us how loud all of the different frequencies that are part of the human hearing range, which starts at 20 Hz and goes all the way up to 20,000 Hz, were at their highest point in volume of while the track was playing. Okay, so why does that matter? Because this is the reason why the track sounds the way it does. I usually begin with the low end, but I'm gonna go straight to the high end. Why? This song, it's super warm sounding. What do I mean by that? If you pay attention to this section of the analyzer, we can see this incredibly extended roll-off. This means that the high end, it wasn't as loud as the rest of the mix. You can see that the low mids and the lows in general are not as are louder than the loudest point of this particular section, which is the higher end, high mids and highs. Why is that so important? When listening to music, we usually associate the qualities of the sound to particular emotional reactions. When something is a little bit more brighter sounding, we tend to react to it like if it's a little bit more aggressive sounding or lively. When it is a little bit more warmer sounding, such as this one, it feels cozy. And look, even the way I'm using the words I'm using to refer to those kind of sounds are very much similar to the emotion that I'm trying to describe, right? And in this case, we got a mix that is quite affected by this super gentle roll-off of the high end, which makes everything feel cozy, close to you, and it makes sense for this particular style of music. Now, coming to the other side, the section containing the lows, you'll see that we got huge amount of low end, and that makes total sense because the stars of the show are the bass and the drums. And in this section is where you're gonna find the kick drum and the bass interaction. And I couldn't stop praising them. Both of them are fantastic musicians, and their contributions to this track are quite clearly the driving force behind it. Even though the vocals are the main driving force when it comes to attention grabbing, for lack of a better term, musically speaking, the ones that are truly keeping the momentum of the song going are the bass and the guitar. And the bass and the drums, sorry. And you can clearly see that they decided to push them louder in the mix, but with proper good taste. It's excellently mixed. By the way, if you want to learn more about how to use a tool such as this one, in order for you to improve the quality of your experience when listening to your own music, I made a video specifically speaking, explaining everything regarding such a tool. Now let's continue with the analysis. Now, talking about the vocals, we are gonna find them somewhere around here, and they are obviously the loudest part of this particular quadrant when it comes to the frequency range. Because her voice is very much pushed forward, it's probably the loudest element in the mix, and it makes sense because this is kind of a pop rock track, and aesthetically speaking, it has to be that way. Since we don't have that much of a prominent guitar work, without trying to be disrespectful, because excellent guitar player as well, but it's much more playing a support role rather than a lead guitar sound, if that makes sense to you. And it makes sense. Now, moving over to the dynamic range analyzer, which is the second half of my tool over here, and I happen to be a huge fan of this particular section, we're gonna be able to see how loud the track was across time. That's very important because the relationship between the loudest point in volume in accord to the quietest parts in volume is what is known as dynamic range. And that translates into human ear terminology as emotion, because when something is quieter, it feels a little bit more close to you, a little more intimate, if that makes sense to you. But when something is louder, it's much more exciting, it's much more dynamic, and the whole interaction between those moments is what creates emotion in music. And luckily for us, this track was produced before the dreaded loudness war, and we got a very dynamic sounding mix, and that's awesome. So, if you pay close attention to this section, this is introduction, this is the first half of the track, and here we got the beautiful phrase sang by her. Please remind me the name of this fantastic singer, she's a gorgeous singer. You can see that as soon as she finishes that particular phrase, and the band joins into the fray, we get a huge bump in volume. And that's excellent because as soon as that happens, your attention is drawn to the sound of the music. And since it's very, how can I put it, active, for lack of a better term, it's dynamically speaking active, you are clearly invested into the music quite fast. Then you'll see this. This is the verse. But see how in this point it goes super loud. This is probably the first chorus. And when she does the falsetto, which she does excellently well. Here is where you got this incredibly loud bump in volume, which is what draws your attention now to the new phrase, which is the catchy chorus that is part of the track. This is a very common technique. When mixing music, it's very common for us mixing engineers to use our faders, especially the master fader, which is the one that controls the entirety of the loudness of the mix, to add emotion based on the section of the track we're dealing with. Why does that happen, or why do we do it? Great question, I'm glad that you didn't ask. The reason why we do it is because we're trying to recreate the emotional impact that you will have as a listener while the track is playing in front of you. Because naturally speaking, when the band is performing, when the highly emotional sections of the track happens, they are gonna be automatically they're gonna be playing louder, okay? Because they're gonna get excited. And through the use of the faders, we kind of replicate that particular moment in the live show. So that's why we do it. Now, see what happens right after that section finishes. We're brought back to the rhythmic kind of cruise mode loudness of the track for it to ramp up when the second longer chorus happens. We even got this bump, which I assume is the moment in which they restart the chorus. Because if you remember, that particular chorus is actually double. Okay, they play the same thing twice. And here you can see that they are revamping it, drawing your attention once again. Clever. If we move over to the second half, this is where the guitar solo or harmony happened. And you will see that they took advantage of this particular interlude. Yeah, actually, I think that's the appropriate term for this one. They took advantage of this section for the song to kind of prepare itself to go once again to the forefront, because you can see that little by little they are ramping up in intensity, because they're preparing you as a listener for the delivery of the final gigantic powerful chorus, final chorus. And they played like 4 times now. And for a song such as this one, which is short, there is no such a thing of a problematic repetition, because the song, if I recall correctly, is no longer than 3 minutes and a half. And for something like this, repeating the chorus so often makes total sense. And another thing, the harmonies and the music, the music itself has this haunting element to it that I truly enjoy, and I think is one of the reasons why rock music from this particular era has its personality. If I have to make a decision, I prefer this band over Oasis, for example. But I know people will kill me just by saying that, but whatever, come at me, bro. No, but all jokes aside, this is much more in my alley rather than Oasis. And don't get me wrong, Oasis is a good band. Just this one in particular is a little bit more similar to the style of music that I usually listen to. So there you got it. What do you think? This track is fantastic. If you have seen the anime, please let me know as well, because I think it's a good one. I don't remember how much I liked it, because I probably watched it like 20 years ago. And I truly have forgotten most of those years, if I have to be honest. But I remember it being good, and also the animation was kind of cool, because the design of the characters is a little bit out there. And if I am honest with you, as I said in the introduction, the only reason why I kept watching is because I love the song so much. Because this was just in the intro, of course. So there you got it. If you got any question or any suggestion regarding any other song from anime or any other track that you would like me to analyze in this fashion in this channel, please let me know in the comment section down below. And also, if you happen to be interested on learning how to produce music yourself, I also got a special channel in which I show you all of the tricks that I do here while working in the studio. So you will find it in the description of this video as well. And also consider joining to my Discord, because in that particular place is where we discuss music that doesn't suck, and we are finding and discovering new music every single day. So thank you for joining, thank you for watching, and as usual, the only thing left to be reminded is that you should never let anybody tell you what to dream about, and remember that I will see you when I see you.